Well-known TV personality Dr. Phil spent Sunday embedded with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE division as they launched an enforcement operation in Chicago. Dr. Phil was along for the ride, joining the Border Czar Tom Homan on this inaugural raid of the second Trump administration. Now, these sweeping raids to rid the nation of violent migrants are a linchpin of President Trump's election promises. Joining us now to discuss why he partook in this operation and to share what he witnessed is Phil McGraw himself, a.k.a. Dr. Phil. Welcome to Rising.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you. My first question is, why did you decide to participate in this, and what did you witness? What did you know about the kinds of migrants who this action is targeted at arresting or deporting?
Well, I had the opportunity to participate in it because I was very interested in it, and we've been to the border with Mr. Homan. We've been to the border without Mr. Homan, and our viewers have told us that immigration is a really big issue with them. They're all over the chart on how they feel about it, but they're very interested in it. And I've read and seen a lot of things about what's going on and how this is being enforced. And a lot of things have been said that use the term, I don't think it's how you used it there, but they've used the term sweeping raids in terms of just going into communities and kind of doing a broad net and taking out all sorts of people that are in the country, harassing people about their immigration status. And I wanted to see exactly what was going on. And we were permitted to come in an all access way. And there was no limit to what we could shoot, film. And we were able to hear all of the orientation and participate up close with everything that was going on in the streets. And it began at 4 a.m. With an orientation. This was a multi-agency operation, which was something that was really impressive. And I was glad to see, whether it was this or anything else, the agencies working together. ICE was there, DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshals, the FBI. Seeing these people working in a coordinated way. And what I saw was that this wasn't just a kind of a general operation, but a very tactical, surgical, targeted operation where they were going out looking for very specific individuals. They had files on people that were violent criminals that had been convicted of various sorts of things, from murder to sex trafficking. They were known MS-13 and DTA drug members from gang members from Venezuela. These were people that nobody would want in their communities. That's who they were after. Their idea was the worst first. That's who they were after, and they had files on these folks where they had done investigative work to find out where they were, where they worked, what their patterns were, because they wanted to arrest these people in as safe an environment as they possibly could, so they didn't put other people in jeopardy when they took these people into custody.
And you had an interaction with at least one of these illegal or allegedly illegal immigrants about the crimes they may have committed. Could you speak to that?
Yes, and there wasn't anything alleged about it. I mean, this was an illegal, this person was in the country illegally. The records show that he'd been convicted of sex crimes with children. And had someone raise their hand when he had been in custody for these crimes, they could have just taken him from that custody to an ICE agent's custody, and he could have been processed for deportation at that time, but that didn't happen. And so it took multiple agents and hundreds of hours, manpower, to find and get this individual back in custody to get deported from the country. And instead, they had to go through all of this. And when you do that in an open environment, who knows what's going to happen? Could it be a car chase? Could there be resistance and guns involved? Who knows? So it's too bad that they don't cooperate in sanctuary cities in that way. And I understand that's their choice, but it certainly puts a lot more people in jeopardy and takes hundreds and hundreds of man hours where it could be one agent walking in and transferring custody of one prisoner.
You know, Phil, you said that these were very targeted raids, and that's certainly what the American people had been told. We were told that the goal here is to get violent criminals out of the country, which I think most people in America would be fine with. But an NBC report said that half of the people picked up in that raid of 1,200 people had no criminal record whatsoever. So where do we get this idea that it was only picking up violent criminals, given that NBC has reported otherwise?
I think it was probably half. People that didn't have violent criminal records. And Marianne, I'm so glad you asked that, because it's kind of what I fear I create. First off, those people are in the country illegally, and that is a crime. But that aside, their focus is to get the worst first and get them out of here. And half of those people aren't the worst first. So why are they being detained? Well, I'll tell you why they're being detained, because these ICE agents are being forced into the community to take these violent criminals into custody. And if they go into an apartment, they go into a house, they go into a place where they're just out in the world, they're going to look and see who's around them at the time. Is somebody aiding and abetting these people? Is somebody, are they with other criminals? And when they do that and they find that, well, there was 6 other people that are also in the country illegally, they're not going to turn a blind eye to that. They're forced to deal with that and to take those people into custody as well. That's not who they're going after. Frankly, right now, they would rather spend that time going after the second violent target, the third violent target, the fourth violent target, but instead they're having to process and detain people that aren't violent targets at this point. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not subject to arrest, because they are. They're illegally in the country. But they're creating what they don't want. They're pushing these agents into the community when, if they would take them in custody in jail, they wouldn't even be in the community. They're forcing them to deal with the people that they don't want them to deal with. It's really paradoxical.
So I have a double question for you. First of all, did the Trump administration or Tom Homan ask you to do this, or was this something that you asked to do?
Well, thank you for that. When Tom Homan was appointed as President Trump's choice to be the new Border Czar, we contacted him at Merit TV and asked if we could do an interview and find out what he was all about.
I understand. So,
because immigration is such an important issue for so many Americans, and he said, yes, I'll come and sit down. And there were no restrictions to the interview whatsoever. So he came to Dallas-Fort Worth, where we have our new network, and sat down, and we did a no holds barred interview. And then he invited us to go to the border with him, where he was going the next day. So we went along to the border in Arizona,
so this is
where he met with sheriffs that we know quite well. And so we were able to go along there. And when this came up, they were going to execute this first operation. We asked if we could document that, and he said, yes, you can. And there were others there, by the way. NBC had a reporter there. Bloomberg had a reporter there. It just didn't get as much attention.
Well, you know, a problem that a lot of people are having, and I'm wondering your thoughts about this, is this blurring of news and propaganda. You know, when you talk about the picking up of violent criminals, this is news, this is something that clearly has a buy-in from the American people. You have specific views about undocumented people in this country, which are not shared by everyone in the country. But when you have someone like Dr. Phil, with your celebrity, putting out your opinion with an ICE raid, what do you say to people who say, wait a minute, is this the news or is this just his opinion and we're being propagandized? How do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh. Uh, that's I feel like a voice in the darkness yelling against the agenda that's being put out by the media. I haven't seen a straight up news report other than ours about this yet. I'm hearing people pontificating about these sweeps going into schools, taking students out of schools. What we did, Marianne, was show people what's going on. We showed them what was happening at the 4 a.m. meeting, the files that they were using to do this surgical, tactical operation to go in and find individuals, not a sweeping raid throughout. We showed people exactly what was happening. They can make up their own mind whether they like it or whether they don't. I'm telling people the facts. I'm showing people the facts of here's what's happening. And my views about it don't matter. I don't care how somebody feels about it. I barely care how I feel about it. What I'm interested in is what's actually happening. And we showed people what's actually happening. These were targeted, surgical, tactical operations to get individuals, not sweeping raids throughout the community. This is fact, not fiction, and there's a lot of people that are pushing an agenda that's straight fiction. Do you not think that legacy media is pushing an agenda on this? I'm really surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
a lot of people feel like, regardless of what your opinion is on immigration or how strict we want the immigration to be, that the elites in the mainstream media have had their own, agenda about this, and it has colored their coverage of this issue, and that, people feel like they were forced to get their information about the immigration situation from untrustworthy mainstream outlets. So we really appreciate you, Dr. Phil, sharing your experience and inviting viewers to judge for themselves what they think about it. Thanks so much for appearing on Rising.
Nice seeing you, Phil.
Thank you so much. Good seeing you again, Marianne. Thanks so much.
Yeah.